Hi and welcome back to Dan Demo Drum Lessons. In this lesson we are looking at the final set of rudiments out of the 40 rudiments from the Percussive Art Society. We've been going through them in many of the previous lessons and we're now into section 4, which is the final section, the drag rudiments. Drags are an unusual rudiment, but you will use them all the time in every style of music. You'll use them in pop music, jazz music, heavy metal music, just everything you can think of. Drags appear. And the grace note that we had in the flam, if you remember, the flam's got the little grace note before the main hit. Well, we elaborate that and have this thing called a drag, and I guess the sound is kind of dragging into the beat, where you will do two lefts and then a right, and then the other way, two rights and then a left. So that tiny little double before you hit your main note is often referred to as a ghost note. It's where you have very quiet little notes that kind of play in, and when you're doing drum kit work and playing more complex drum beats, you will put a lot of ghost notes in to fill the sound out, pad it out, and it's a very important skill to learn. So we're going to take a look at these drags. For this lesson we're just going to do 4 of the drags, and the reason for that is because the next lesson, where we look at the second part of the drag rudiments, they are more around things like the paradiddles and the ras-McHugh, so they're just sort of lengthening variations of those same things, so it makes sense to leave that for the next lesson. But first, back to a drag. Similar to a flam, the grace note, or in this case the ghost notes, are close to the pad, and the main note is higher up, ideally almost 90 degrees. So bounce, bounce left, bounce, bounce right. Important is that you get the bounce really quiet and close together. That little double. It's going to require a lot of flick on your fingers. Okay. So you can really play with this. So yeah, there's lots of that sort of military snare sound, but those sort of fills and using ghost notes in drum beats all transpires into just about every bit of music, really. So looking at the drag, the standard drag number 31 on the PAS rudiments is left, left, right, 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 left. Okay, so hit our metronome. So it is as simple as that. That is the drag in its simplest form. Where the drag becomes more difficult then is in a lot of the rudiments, the accent, that little sort of chevron that sits above a note to play louder, isn't always on the actual beat on the one. It's often on the and or somewhere like that. It's in a number of different places within that beat. So these can get quite difficult getting the accents in the right place, and I'll be honest, sometimes if I'm not practicing my rudiments a lot and I get rusty, I start putting them naturally where I want to, which is on the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4 of the beat, where obviously they shouldn't be. The single drag tap is the next rudiment. So that is your drag, your little double left, right, and then an accented left. And it's on the and, so 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and So it is on the off beat. It's the beat in between the main clicks. So if we were just playing as straight eighth notes, Sounds a bit like a march or something, but that is how the rudiment goes. So for the single drag tap, it is double left, right, left, accented left, double right, right. Okay, and it alternates. It's quite an unnatural looking sticking when you look at it on paper, but you realise pretty quickly if you've just accented that left, then the stick is ready for the next one. Okay? So, important thing is not to hit on the one and get that double sound. So that is the single drag tap. Quite useful for practicing your stick control, quite a good sound, and accenting on the offbeat. The next rudiment, number 33, is literally expanding out that drag tap to a double drag tap. And listen, you know, with the fact that they called it a single drag tap in the previous rudiment, you knew that a double was coming next. Okay, and this works literally on 3 hits per beat, or a triplet. So that sort of sound. So you have right, right, left, right, right, left, left. Okay. Sorry. Left, left, right, left, left, right, left. Right, right, left, right, right, left, right. So. So it is that sort of da-da-da-da-da-ba, 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 da-da-da-da-da-ba. And funnily enough, I just recorded, because as many of you know, I record drum beat lessons as well, and I'm many lessons ahead of where I am at this moment. For publishing later, I tried to record ahead, and I literally played a drum beat that sounds very similar to that. But the double drag tap is. So it is that sort of da-da-da-da-da-ba, da-da-da-da-da-ba. Okay. Last one for this particular lesson. It's called lesson 25, and I can't actually remember which book it came out of, but it was an old sort of snare drumming book, and it's deliberately put next to the double drag tap because the double drag tap is a triplet. The lesson 25 is not. It is 3/16 notes. So instead of, which is triplets, it's okay, so it's 3/16 notes. 1 yand, 2 yand, 3 yand, 4 yand, okay? And the reason there is no is because that's where you'll need to start your drag. Which brings me to an important point, which will be very important actually for the next bit. Your drag needs to start before the beat. So that when you're playing a single drag like that, it's quite easy to anticipate it. But if you're doing a lot of drags before you get into the beat, you have to start the drag almost as soon as you hit the previous stick. So, okay. So it makes sense to literally have the stick in the position so that you can. So it's very important to have that stick in the place so it's ready to hit almost immediately after you've hit the previous note. You kind of anticipate by doing the drag before you get to the beat. Okay, that was going to become much more important in the next lesson, but it's very much needed in this one, and that's why it's 3/16 notes for whichever book it was, I can't remember now, that lesson 25 came from. So it's left, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, and left. Okay. Other way. So very important to do your left and right way. It's written both ways in this one because it doesn't alternate, so very important. But left, left, right, left, right. And then because you've got literally 1/16 notes, you start your drag immediately. anticipation before you get to the beat. So that is the drag. That's the first lesson of the drag. I hope you found that useful. That's the first 4 rudiments. We will do the other 6 in the next lesson. They are variations of a couple of beats, and we'll start off with a very unusual one, which I'm not really sure you'll ever use, but it's interesting to learn. Okay, I hope you found that useful. Hope you have a good week. See you next time.